Now, love affairs across one of the world's most heavily guarded borders have begun on the virtual battlefields of a video game like PUBG. In the open game rooms of multiplayer Ludo sessions, relationships are flourishing over social media platforms as well, like Facebook, and these are just a few instances. Connecting with strangers online can raise difficult questions around the nature of a friendship or a relationship and how to define it. But joining us to make sense of what's going on, we have with us Jitin Jain, cybersecurity expert, Dhruv Bhutani, tech expert and the editor of Android Authority. Also on the broadcast with us this afternoon, Major General A.K. Sivach, geostrategic and security analyst, and Dr. Niharika from the Accord Super Speciality Hospital, who's a psychologist. Jitin, I'd like to begin with you. Now, I'm conscious of not creating any moral panic here, but is there a trend we're seeing, especially in relation to Pakistan? Reports state at least 4 women of different nationalities have arrived in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province over the last 2 months to visit their friends or partners, and they met on social media platforms or via games.
I think there have been several instances across the world. This is a social media age. People play this multiplayer games together, and these multiplayer games mostly have, these days audio and video options enabled where you can talk to each other, you can see each other, and when you play together, you develop some sort of, a common spirit or some sort of virtual bond. And these days we are seeing that, our children, our youngsters have more virtual friends and you hardly have any real physical friends. I mean, you have more people whom you call friends, but you've never even met them. You just met them online. You have just been chatting for years and years. So I think this is not a new phenomena. And it is happening across the globe. People of different geographies, different castes, religions, countries, fall in love with each other online. They get married, they meet, they travel together. But when it comes to India, especially, when people from India and Pakistan are talking, or some Chinese is talking to Indians, we have different connotations. I think because of our post-state relationship with those countries, every relationship, every friendship comes under suspect and, some sort of doubt. So that is a normal case. But of late, we have seen that Pakistani intelligence agencies have been using and or exploiting this social media phenomena to target, honey trap and lure Indian defense personnel, Indian citizens, maybe to sometimes trap them and raise them as a conscious or unconscious source or a spy. So two people generally meeting over internet, falling in love is not a problem, but state agencies, hostile intelligence agencies using internet and games as a tool to, create fake friendships, plant their spies as some girlfriends and boyfriends, and make them travel in that country and able to hide them under, matrimonial relationships is a challenge.
Right. Lots to unpack there, Jitin. The audio-video aspect in multiplayer games, as Jitin has highlighted, children have more virtual friends now as opposed to friends in real life because they are spending more of their time online. But Pakistan intelligence agencies have been exploiting the social media phenomenon, as Jitin Jain is claiming, to trap some citizens as well. Let's also bring in Dhruv Bhutani.
It's not a claim. We have got multiple reports how Pakistani agencies have been using malwares and women to honey trap our soldiers and, bureaucrats and critical personnel. So this is no claim. It has been there. I mean, there have been documented several reports, not one, but at least 10, 12, 15 reports you've seen in the last 5 years.
Right. So we have documented evidence of this as well, as Jitin is emphasizing. Dhruv, your thoughts? Is this an increasing trend, as Jitin has just emphasized? Is something suspicious happening behind the scenes? Many believe that Pakistan's lack of data protection laws, as well as incoherent cybercrime policy, have resulted in these gangs of scammers preying on people.
I think it's just that the means have become a lot easier. Having access to these games with inbuilt communications facilities have just made it a lot simpler. But this is obviously not a new phenomenon. Earlier, there would be chat rooms. So if you remember from the mid-2000s, early 2000s, Yahoo chat rooms, and we've heard of instances at that time as well. Now, I'm no cybersecurity expert, so obviously this is outside my domain, but I'm sure this is just an extension of similar honey trapping policies by Pakistan. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's about these games and other platforms, and in fact, just communication itself has become so much easier that that creating these honey traps and these this guise of say falling in love. Now, I'm not saying that this is in this particular instance it is that exactly, but it could very well be, and it is a means that can be exploited for sure.
Right, let's also bring in Major General A.K. Sivach at this point. Major General, now while in both countries, interfaith relationships could often be perceived as a minefield, do you see this as face value, as cross-border love? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Parmeshwar, the fact is that as far as Pakistan is concerned, Pakistan ISI is a rogue intelligence agency and they make full use of it, and you can narrate a number of honey trap stories. Very recently, which has happened to a DRDO scientist, which was a director level, Mr. Pradeep Gurlekar. So they can go to any extent, and they have got a very good system of tracking people. And then they build up a narrative in such a manner that the person get trapped into that. So therefore, this is one thing which we have to be careful. And these stories which are emanating, all these stories may be a love story, but you have to be also careful that Pakistan ISI is known for doing what they are doing. And not only that, the second point which we are not talking is the southern part of the country is also involved in a number of social media games and all, and they slowly get radicalized by ISIS. They also adopt this as a tool. Now this social media has become a tool to basically trap a person either through honey trap or through other means of radicalization. So as an Indian security forces, we have to be very, very alert and alive. And the only way is to educate the people. You know, that you can't stop people going to social media. The education is the best solution. You have to tell the people what are the vices of that, how you should be careful. And you have to also intimate, to your children. So therefore, this is a big challenge as far as the security forces are concerned. We are aware of this, and the Indian Army, Indian Air Force, Navy, we are taking a countermeasure. And the countermeasures are threefold. One is the education. Second is also you conducting a survey. Third thing is you monitoring through your own technical means. So all these things are being followed, but one can say with certainty, Pakistan ISI is known for doing this, and this is spreading like a wildfire, and we have to be very, very careful. They track and trap their target in a very intelligent manner. By the time the target realizes that target is already part of the trap, and that is how things happen. And second thing is this radicalization is a new thing which has started off. People who are well educated, well meaning, and on a highly placed appointment, slowly and steadily they get trapped through radicalization, and they all become aware through the social media. Initially they make a friend, and that friend introduced to the other friend, and slowly radicalization starts. And by that time they realize it, they are in it. So therefore it's a challenge. I am saying as a nation also it is a challenge, as a security forces also challenge to ensure that we do not become a victim of honey trap.
Of course, we have to practice caution, as Pakistani spies are honey trapping India's officials, as has been documented. They're also trapping scientists and soldiers by pretending to be women online. But you know, a lot of us were raised not to talk to strangers. Strangers, I was at least taught as a child, are people we've never met before, therefore we don't know them. Dr. Niharika, there's a certain ease in making online connections, though, that can't be replicated offline. And it's this ease that seems to be appealing to some people who may not have so much time or who may be emotionally guarded. A lot of people seem to have this thought. But in such cases, can online friends be the answer to loneliness?
Most of the time, children and adult and adolescent, most of the time spend the mobile in daily basis. So, suffering like a depression, anxiety, feeling like lonely, and just for the fear of I can't live without the phone. This is a normal phobia.
It's no doubt that being online makes it easier to be inauthentic. Just look at the catfishes, for example. But sometimes the distance that is built into our online interactions gives people the courage to express themselves more freely and honestly. But Jitin, let's bring you in. Do you believe that scams and swindles have proliferated in step with the growth of informal online businesses in Pakistan?
Yes, I mean, that is the mushrooming industry in Pakistan. I think it is becoming a mainstream job of many of the Pakistani youngsters. And we should not underestimate the power of social media. I mean, the power to launch psychological attacks and manipulate minds is phenomenal. I mean, you could look at the example of ISIS. 70 to 80% of radicalization and recruitment happened online via Skype. They recruited people whom they have never even met. They just send them propaganda videos, talk to them, preaching them something, and then doing Skype interviews, making them travel all the way from Middle Eastern countries, South Asia, the Western countries to Turkey and, other these Middle Eastern geographies. They made somebody travel merely by just chatting online and, brainwashing them psychologically. So I think this is what is happening today, where agencies like ISI or ISPR are using social media to brainwash people, sometimes turn them into spies, sometimes make them do nefarious things, sometimes radicalize them. And they've been using it for almost a decade in Valley to radicalize youngsters, make them do violence, throw stones, pick up arms. So now they have realized that, since this pelting stones and arms business is coming to an end in Valley, why not radically brainwash youngsters to get into romantic relationships? Because that becomes a very easy prey for them, to turn them into matrimonial relationships, send their citizens, get them married, and you have a permanent spy base in India. So I think we have to be extremely careful that how we are dealing with these cases. I think it is, if you were falling in love with someone in Europe or America, one could understand. But I'm sure every Indian, when we are raised, we are told Pakistan is an enemy. And despite of somebody knowing that they are talking to a Pakistani guy or a girl and they are falling in love, I think the basic education which was already served has been gone into a toss. It's not that they are ignorant, they have turned indifferent. So if indifference is leading to all this, I think there has to be stern action and stern examples that we as a society have to ensure that there are some red lines which should not be, crossed by any citizen, which can harm national security.
Well, thank you so much, Jitin. It's a loud wake-up call to practice caution while all of us are online, especially on social media platforms and online gaming and chat rooms.